This program contains graphic imagery. Viewer discretion is advised.
I'm Robert McNeil, and welcome back to America at a Crossroads.
Indonesia, the largest Muslim population in the world.
Religion is shaped by the culture and traditions of the people.
Terrorism cannot be overcome by law enforcement.
So you go and you have a fight.
Yeah, fight.
Indonesia is an experiment in democracy.
Now we investigate the growing pains of a new Muslim democracy.
Islam for me is very democratic.
Funding for America at a Crossroads was provided by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.
The customs and mores of Muslim life, such as Manji complains of, like veils for women, derive from its origins here in the Arab world, the ways of the desert, as she puts it. But then so does its religious thought. This is Cairo's Al-Azhar Mosque, one of the most influential in the Muslim world, because it houses the oldest university in Islam. Religious doctrine taught here has shaped universal Muslim thought, as it still does today, though with a decided Islamist tinge. The university recently brought a lawsuit against a prominent Egyptian woman writer, claiming she had insulted Islam. Attracted by the renown of Al-Azhar scholars, students come here from all over the world, today including Indonesia, the world's most populous Muslim nation, which is where we turn next on Crossroads.
On October the 1st, 2005, at a restaurant in Bali, an Australian tourist had his video camera on as he sat down to dinner with his family. In the backpack of this young Indonesian were explosives surrounded by shrapnel. With a switch on his belt, he detonated the bomb. 25 people died. More than 100 were injured, the majority Indonesian.
The targets were not Indonesians, but foreigners. Why is it that Indonesians have been hit? It is us that are crying.
In the war on terror, Indonesia is unique. It is home to more Muslims than any nation in the world, more than the entire Middle East combined, and for decades has been considered a model of Islam as a compassionate, tolerant, and inclusive religion. But in recent years, Indonesia has become both a target and a breeding ground for Muslim militants bent on global jihad. The conflict between its long tradition of tolerance and the dramatic rise of fundamentalist forces makes Indonesia a unique battleground in the war of ideas over how Islam should be understood.
In Indonesia, religion is shaped by the culture and traditions of the people. We have over 300 ethnic groups. It's not possible to have one single face of Islam.
Jadi kenyataannya di Indonesia memang banyak interpretasi.
In Indonesia, there are many interpretations of Islam. but only one is pure.
Abu Bakar Bashir, a radical Islamist cleric, is considered the spiritual leader of the Indonesian terrorist group Jamaah Islamiyah.
There are factions influenced by those who studied in America, but they teach a perversion of true Islam. Islam and democracy can never coexist. In Islam, every decision is based on the demands of Allah and Allahcracy, while in democracy, it's based on what the people want. In Islam, Allah holds the ultimate power. He does not require the people's consent.
Indonesia's challenge for the 21st century is to demonstrate that democracy and Islam can coexist. Stretching across the equator from the southern tip of Thailand to the north of Australia lie Indonesia's 18,000 islands. It's the fourth largest nation in the world, with a population of about 240 million. More than 210 million are Muslims. Almost all are Sunni Muslims.
Indonesia is a huge country, extremely strategically located, but more importantly, it's also an experiment in Muslim democracy, which, if successful, could have ramifications for other parts of the world. If the United States wants to advance democracy in the Islamic world, particularly at a time when it's gaining enemies right and left through its misadventures in places like Iraq, then Indonesia takes on an added importance.
The Republic of Indonesia won its independence from the Dutch in 1949. After a brutal and bloody campaign against Indonesia's Communist Party, General Muhammad Suharto established a military dictatorship in 1965 that lasted 32 years. Under his corrupt regime, Islamic radicals were prosecuted and imprisoned. Some fled the country. In 1998, amid an economic crisis that rocked Asia, the Suharto regime collapsed. The fledgling democracy was born. This gave Muslim militants the freedom to return and regroup.
The introduction of democracy in 1998 is a double-edged sword. In one hand, it gives us more freedom, but this freedom is freedom not for the good guys, but also for the bad guys. So we need to accept that fact,
The bombing of two nightclubs in Bali in October of 2002 was second only to 9/11 as the most deadly terrorist attack in modern history. A stunning wake-up call that Al-Qaeda-style terrorism had spread to Southeast Asia.
On the night, you can hear people screaming, help, and everybody is running bodies all around. And we have people with no arms, with no shirt, all the burning. And I'm dreaming, but it's not dreaming, it's a reality.
202 people died, the majority Australians. The second highest body count was Indonesians.
10 menit itu akhirnya dia dengar ledakan kakaknya.
My husband was a taxi driver, and he would wait by the clubs to pick up passengers.
Kakaknya kaget, adik saya.
Now what will happen to me and my children? I would prefer that I had died instead.
Thinking about the future, I'm always afraid. What must I do for my son for the future?
My duty was to buy the cars and 1 ton of explosives.
Sebetulnya kita targetnya itu kan memusuhi Amerika.
Our target is America.
Amerika dan antek-anteknya yang
and all its allies in the whole world
membuat onar di seluruh dunia, terutama di
who are against Muslims.
Kaum muslimin.
Nah itu kegunaannya untuk mancing karena kalau sudah ada ledakan kan mesti
we used the first explosion as a bait.
Dari dalam
The sound made people run from the nightclub outside to the street. Then once they were outside, the car bomb exploded. That's why there were so many victims on the street.
Amrozi, Ali Gufran, and Imam Samudra, key players in the attack, are now on death row. Abu Bakar Bashir, the Indonesian cleric, was a teacher and spiritual guide to many members of Jemaah Islamiyah, the terrorist group responsible for the Bali bombing. While he denies any involvement, he does not denounce the terrorist attack.
From one point of view, I am actually thankful because the bombers did what they believe, which is jihad. Those are acts of retaliation and a struggle to defend themselves and to protect Islam from its enemies, especially from the Jews and the Bush regime. But in my opinion, the path that they chose by bombing a non-conflict area was wrong.
Self-exiled in Malaysia during the dictatorship, he came back to Indonesia in 1998, when the new democratic freedoms allowed him to return and re-establish his leadership. Bashir was tried on charges related to the bombings, but was released from prison on a technicality after only 2 years. The short sentence was viewed by many in the West as Indonesian officials being soft on terrorism. But Indonesians respond they are only maintaining strict compliance to the rule of law, as all democracies must do.
We work based on law. If we arrest people, we must bring them to the court. As I understand, some of those people who were arrested in Guantanamo, for instance, they never go to the court. There is one difference, I think. We cannot do that. Cannot do that.
Despite Bashir's early release, Indonesia's counter-terrorism police were remarkably effective. More than 200 people were arrested in connection with the first Bali bombings. And Jemaah Islamiyah, which had ties to Al-Qaeda, suffered a significant setback.
But terrorism cannot be overcome only by law enforcement. We must come to the root causes of this terrorism. And I think that wrong teaching is the main cause.
There are more than 17,000 Islamic boarding schools in Indonesia. With very few exceptions, they teach a moderate interpretation of Islam. But the most famous and notorious is the Al-Mukmin school in central Java, known as Nuruki. The reason for its notoriety is that several of its graduates were involved in the Bali bombings. Today, Nuruki houses about 1,600 junior and senior high school students. The school's headmaster is Wahyudin.
We teach a broad knowledge, including self-help, political skills, and to be a mujahideen,
fighter.
To fight to fulfill their potential and to have the best knowledge and best work to maximize their abilities.
Do you teach about jihad? Teach what is the interpretation?
Of course, ya karena jihad adalah salah satu.
Jihad is one of our teachings. The Holy Quran contains many verses about that.
Ini kalau kita melihat perjuangan sekolah.
Of course, our students were never taught to bomb places. But maybe the bombers were trying to convey a message.
Kenapa Amerika bisa berbuat kok?
Why can America do such a thing and we can't?
Saya tidak setuju dengan
I disagree with it.
Saya tidak bisa menyalahkan.
But I can't really blame them. Even ants, when stepped on, will bite you back.
When I was in that school, the spirit of jihad was very strong. I still remember the Arabic song, Middle East songs, song about encouraging people to do jihad.
As a teenager, Huda Ismail was roommates with one of the Bali bombers.
Ruki go with a more Arab style, more like Wahhabi teaching, like the teaching of a purification of Islam, really strict interpretation of Quran. The founder of Ingruki, Abu Bakar Bashir, is Arabic descent. Most Indonesians believe that anyone who has Arabic descent are good Muslim because they're close to the Prophet or they're close to the Mecca, whatever. This is kind of common belief here.
As a Muslim, we need to distinguish between Arabic culture and Islam. To be a good Muslim doesn't mean necessarily following the Arabic way. In Indonesia, there exist different cultures.
The God of love.
From Hindu era in the past, and also from the local faith. It's our tradition. For example, there is no idea of veiling a woman, a practice which is common in Arabic society, but not here because the role of women is very strong. So when fundamentalism came here, introducing veiling, introducing segregation between men and women, it looks like an alien thing for us.
Islam in Indonesia is much more tolerant because we took a lot from local culture, Hindu cultures, Hindu traditions, and Buddhists as well.
The Muslims in this country look at the Judeo-Christians as our relatives because the descendants of Abraham was Moses, Jesus Christ, and Muhammad. Even in the Al-Quran, Muslims are instructed not to discriminate one group of human beings against another.
Violence is not in our root. We have a long tradition of respect. But some of these radical Indonesians, basically some of them hijack the meaning of Islam. What we need to do right now is counter the idea, the ideology of Islamic militants. We have to make huge campaign. It requires the teaching that will respect the vibrant local culture.
The vibrant cultural traditions of Indonesia are a formidable counterforce against the radical movement. Age-old art forms like shadow puppets and gamelan bands have always thrived under Islam, as have other customs and beliefs. This is due in part to the way Islam was introduced here. Unlike other Muslim regions, Islam spread to Indonesia not by conquest and coercion, but through the peaceful process of trade with neighboring Muslim nations.
Islam is not in our root as a people. Islam came Indonesia through trade and also mixed with local culture. If you look at puppet show, our previous Islamic preachers used puppet as a tool to disseminate Islam. That's the cultural approach rather than hardcore style of Islam using like sword, like Islam under the sword.
That's why Islam in Indonesia has been known as the peaceful and moderate Islam. This originated from the Middle East, but it is lived here in Indonesia with so many different cultural backgrounds.
In Solo, on the island of Java, is the palace of King Pakubuwono, whose family ruled over the region for centuries. Despite conflicting with many Muslim beliefs, the tradition of small kingdoms and sultanates continues. Today, the palace still hosts an annual pageant of sacred objects, led by albino water buffaloes, believed to possess supernatural powers.
Yang di mana saya tidak bisa menjadi orang Arab.
I can't be an Arabian.
Walaupun saya merasuk agama Islam.
Though I'm a Muslim, I'm still a Javanese, and I am bound to my own culture.
Princess Murtia is the sister of the current King Pakubuwono, the 13th.
Besides the only one God, we also believe in 4 guardians of the earth. The Queen of the South Sea is the most prominent guardian of this palace. Some people say that it's mystical, so it's actually forbidden by religion. But that's a wrong opinion, because we're still Muslims. The ceremonies are Javanese, but the prayers are Islamic.
On the outskirts of Jakarta is a modern-day palace, complete with a menagerie of exotic animals. It is the home and workplace of Ki Joko Bodo, a well-known shaman. The rites he performs would be considered a blasphemous outrage by many Arab Muslims. But the tradition of mystical healers, believed to possess paranormal powers, dates back to pre-Islamic times in Indonesia. Joko Bodo is a Muslim who prays 5 times a day and has made the pilgrimage to Mecca more than once. He is visited regularly by other Muslims who have their fortunes read and spells cast or removed.
People that come here are from various circles of society. The religious circle, celebrity circle, government elite circle, even lower class circle. I have rituals to make people fall in love with you. For corrupt elites wanting not to get caught. For those who commit adultery wanting to stay unnoticed. For those who are stupid wanting to be smart.
This young Muslim is learning the importance of perseverance by peeling a coconut with his teeth.
I don't worship spirits, but the presence of spirits are created by God. And as a Muslim, I only worship one God.
Joko Bodo has been reprimanded by some clerics who consider him a heretic, though he has never faced a serious challenge. But other unorthodox Muslims are having a different experience. In Jakarta, the Stardust Ballroom hosts an annual event where transvestites from across the nation compete to be crowned Miss Indonesian Transvestite of the Year. The custom of men cross-dressing goes back centuries in Indonesia. Rituals performed for the royal courts by transvestite priests, known as bisu, were thought to increase fertility and prosperity. The Warok are transvestites who perform in traditional plays. Today, cross-dressers are accepted in everyday life among mainstream Indonesians.
I didn't expect to become the big winner because all the contestants is very beautiful and talented. So I thank to the Lord I can pass that night, and thank goodness I did.
Some of these transvestites consider themselves devout Muslims.
Allah akan turunkan laknatnya kepada kita.
But members of the Islamic Defenders Front disagree.
Lebih baik kita yang akan sikat mereka terlebih dahulu.
The radical Islamic group known as the FPI has a history of storming places that they consider against Islam.
Aturan yang mana? Etika dan sunnah Nabi Muhammad. Kita nggak mau, Pak. Negara ini dikutuk lagi oleh Allah, dilaknat lagi segala macam.
Sola Mahmud joined the FPI as a teenager in high school. He is now the secretary of the Jakarta branch, the center of its operations.
I joined the FPI to help unite the people, to fight against loose moral conduct, rejections of Islamic principles, and violence against Muslims. We first ask the politicians or police to take action. But if they do not, then we will go to the place, usually carrying big sticks. But only for defense, because sometimes the people there will attack us.
So you go and you have a fight?
Yeah, fight.
Do you like to fight?
Tergantung situasi.
Only when there is no other choice.
Kebetulan
I led the protest against the Miss Indonesia Transvestite contest. All the authorities had given permission for the contest. And this is against Islam.
I was very scared because they seem very, very angry, and then they want to stop the event. And then they curse us, they damn us, condemn us like we're being condemned by God. But this is a country based on law. not based on religion. So they don't have right to do that. Yeah.
Lalu saya katakan, memang ini bukan negara Islam.
It may not be an Islamic state yet, but this certainly is not a country where people can do anything and everything they want.
Kita akan berusaha untuk
Someday the laws of Islam must and will become the laws of the state.
aturan hukum negara.
Founded in 1998 after the fall of the Suharto regime, the FBI now claims a membership of 15 million young people. The group is not a terrorist organization and is in fact respected by some Indonesians as an effective vigilante force against immorality. Their leader is the charismatic cleric Habib Rizik. At his home, which is also FPI headquarters, he seemed surprised that Americans would be interested in Islam in Indonesia.
I don't believe that America has any interest in Islam. I thought they are more interested in the Jews. All the news about Islam in America is bad. Time magazine wrote that FPI is funded by Al-Qaeda. I still have the copy of that issue.
Benar nggak Bib itu? Dapat bantuan dari Al-Qaeda?
Ada benarnya.
There's some truth in it.
Benarnya bukan Al-Qaeda yang
The truth is, we found them, not they found us.
Dia udah nggak punya duit.
They are broke now. They asked for funds from us.
Jadi kita lebih kaya dari Bin Laden.
So we are richer than Bin Laden.
Jadi apa yang bisa
So how can we help you?
Jadi yang mau mereka
Habib Rizik explained that his main goal is to influence the government to enforce Islamic laws based on the Sharia, even if those laws are not part of the criminal code.
Yes, we are fighting for the application of Sharia law by Muslims throughout Indonesia.
Manakala hukum itu ditegakkan, maka FPI jelas.
When the law is practiced properly, we will not take on the government or the police's duty anymore.
Tapi manakala
But if there's no action, either from the parliament,
ternyata parlemen diam, gubernur diam,
the government,
polisi diam,
police,
jaksa
district
diam,
attorney, or the judge,
apa boleh buat?
what can I say?
Maka manakala agama kami diserang
When our religion is being brutally attacked in front of our own eyes and law enforcement does nothing,
maka kami berhak untuk
we have the right to attack back and stop the assault on our beliefs.
segala serangan tersebut.
The lack of a forceful response from the mainstream Muslim organizations in Indonesia has raised concerns.
Many foreign visitors suggest that moderate element of the society should come forward to challenge those radicalist groups. But honestly, I answered that it's not the Indonesian way for problem solving.
Dean Samsudeen is head of Muhammadiyah, the second largest Muslim organization in the nation, with more than 30 million members.
For us to condemn radical Islam, it will create conflict within our community. There will be always a group within the community who wants to defend themselves from the new culture because they have sensitivity toward immoralities as a product of secularization, liberalization. But we are a big family, and since they are part of our big family, so we have to extend our hand and bring them to the moderate path.
But the idea of defending their religion goes beyond attacking activities considered immoral. It's also the basis for attacking other Muslim groups with a different interpretation of Islam. The Ahmadiyya is an Islamic sect that believes Muhammad was not the last prophet, a heresy to many Muslims. A series of attacks on Ahmadiyya followers has challenged the image of Indonesian Muslims as moderate and tolerant. The central government in Jakarta has been reluctant to crack down on fundamentalist groups that are not directly involved in terrorism. In the case of Ahmadiyya, few arrests were made and little action taken to protect the group.
In Indonesia, religion plays an important role. And this is used very cleverly by the more radical groups by saying, look, if you don't cooperate with us, if you don't fight for our agenda, then we're going to tell people that you're not a good Muslim.
This use of religion as a means to gather support is having a direct impact on cities and villages throughout Indonesia. Local politicians and religious officials are creating regulations and laws based on fundamentalist Islamic values.
Local regulations are produced because of the need of the local leaders to look pious, to be seen as someone who's close to God. And when you're close to God, you're a good person, and you have a certain level of impunity. This is the strategy of radicals here.
A relatively small percentage of Indonesia's many districts have been affected by the regulations, but in Tangerang, a city of 1.5 million just outside Jakarta, the impact is obvious. The mayor instructed that all students must wear Islamic clothing on Fridays and pray in a prescribed way.
The mayor's regulations make them less naughty because they are afraid of Allah. The students' clothes now are Muslim clothes. Personally, I love the new look because it is all white. Islam has to be holy, clean, both physically and mentally. Prior to this, we had problems with fighting and with drugs and alcohol. But now, thanks to God, that has decreased because we are focusing on religion. My mission is to shape students who are moral and pious.
But many female students are finding it difficult to adjust to the new policies.
I short hemline. But they told me to wear these. What more can I do? My parents told me to wear this and this. I just hate it. Hate it.
I can't stand these things. I'm more of a simple girl. I can't stand to be all covered. I just want the usual stuff. I don't want to be all sweaty.
To me, being a Muslim is not something that you can just see from the way we look. You have to see the heart. So, even though we are Muslim, we don't have to wear long hemline, long skirts, or veil. It doesn't have to be like that. It depends on the person.
In addition, a special task force has been established in Tangerang to enforce a number of new bylaws against drinking, gambling, and prostitution. Those most affected are women. Lilis Lindawati is a housewife and mother of two, who works as a waitress in Tangerang.
It was a Monday around 8 p.m. I was waiting for the bus to take me home when suddenly a security officer grabbed me and threw me into a truck. I was shocked. I asked him, "Why am I being taken?" Someone finally explained that I was caught in a prostitution raid.
We are patrolling as part of local law number 8, the prostitution initiative. We patrol every night to enforce Tangerang's strict new rules regarding prostitution. This is our duty.
I was scared. I wanted to jump from the truck. And every time they saw another woman alone on the sidewalk, they would stop and put her in the truck. The next morning, we were tried publicly in an open space. The judge asked me where I worked. I told him at a restaurant, which of course, he didn't believe me. He instructed me to show him the contents of my purse. Inside, he found a compact powder and a lipstick. I told him that many women have those things in their purse, even teachers and housewives. It was completely irrelevant to him. Then the judge hammered 3 times and fined me 3,000 rupiah. Since I couldn't pay, he ordered that I be sent to the women's penitentiary for 3 days.
Lilis's case struck a nerve, especially among Muslim women.
Women who work at night are especially disadvantaged. Nobody is allowed on the street at night, in a way which gives rise to suspicions that they are a prostitute. Anyone could be suspected, right? Does it mean that any woman who makes herself up will be suspected of being a prostitute and be taken away?
Lillis sued the city of Tangerang for violating her human rights. The case was dismissed by the district judge, but her lawyers are appealing to a higher court. Lillis's story caused a widespread reaction among moderate Muslims. In pushing back against the conservative movement, women are taking the lead.
We are so happy with the democratization process in Indonesia, but there is a backlash in this democratization process. And
Eva Sundari is a member of parliament from the Indonesian Democratic Party.
And now the door is open. Everybody can fight for the power to control other people. Suddenly, Islamic groups wants to impose to other Muslims fellows and wants to impose these regulations into the society at the local and then move up in the regional level and now in the national level.
At the national level, a so-called anti-pornography bill was introduced by members of parliament under pressure from conservative Islamic groups. It contains regulations regarding nudity, a dress code for women, and even public displays of affection.
People, they kiss each other in public. And I kiss also my father in public. But now why we are not allowed? And also, if a husband and wife meet each other in airport, they kiss each other. But then there is a funny article there. They are not allowed to kiss each other more than 3 minutes.
I think that's very smart, the conservatives, that they use the pornography issue. You can't really say that I'm for pornography. What's happening now is people who are against the bill is deemed pro-pornography, which is not true.
Women are the main target of the law, and it's very sexist. One article says that we are not allowed to show our body, which can raise the sexual arousal. Yeah, but when we check it, what the law means by the body, then we understand that all the organs belong to women and not men.
One target of the anti-pornography campaign is the acclaimed pop artist Inul Daratista.
What I do is entertain.
Indonesia itu sangat kaya dengan budaya.
Indonesia culture is very rich
dan ini
and very universal.
Universal.
Most of my dances and songs I picked up from many different regions.
Saya mengambil dari
Inul's celebrated performances are based on the Javanese musical style known as dangdut, a mixture of traditional Indian, Arab, and Southeast Asian music.
Gaya di panggung.
On stage, I always try to show my love for the character of Indonesia. But ever since the anti-pornography bill was passed, I've become some sort of a scapegoat to people. Even at my own private home, there have been demonstrations by radical Islamic societies. My shows are becoming a very sensitive thing to do for the public, especially if done outdoors. At Ketapang, there were almost 30,000 fans waiting, but that permit was taken away. My sponsors suffered great losses, and everyone went home disappointed. This happens a lot because certain Islamic groups protest and make statements, draft petitions, and collect signatures. I think some of the authorities are afraid of those radical organizations. Soon the people wouldn't have respect anymore for the authorities. They will respect these groups instead. Then what will become of Indonesia after that?
On the island of Bali, where the majority of people are Hindus, the anti-pornography bill was particularly problematic.
In Bali, we strongly against this anti-pornography thing. As you can see, the tourism is our basic life. People are swimming in the beach, swimming in the swimming pool. Secondly, our daily life, religion, what we've been doing this for 1,000 years. Even the symbol of God, it's showing some, nudity. We don't say this is pornography.
The anti-pornography bill went too far, and opposition became overwhelming. It was ultimately thrown out, and the bill is being redrafted.
We stop it because this is undemocratic, it's un-Muslim, un-Islamic practices. Islam for me is very democratic. Women are really empowered by Islam.
The marriage of Hanifa and Abdullah Salman is in the age-old custom of Javanese weddings, though in essence it is a Muslim ceremony.
If the way you practice the religion is oppressive to women, then it is not Islamic. Because equality of individuals, of all, regardless of sex, race, and all this, that is the basic teaching of Islam. It's actually guaranteed by Islam.
Amid the Javanese pageantry, a Muslim prayer ends the ceremony.
Tolerance, pluralism, justice, these are Islamic teachings. And that's where we can find the convergence of democracy and the Islamic principles.
Habib Razik, leader of the Islamic Defenders Front, disagrees. Like Abu Bakr Bashir, he insists that Islam and democracy are not compatible.
Sedangkan demokrasi,
the source of law in democracy is man, while in Islam it is God.
Tapi itu merupakan hak
Allah and His prophets decide whether something is forbidden or not.
Nah, sementara di dalam
While in democracy,
sistem demokrasi, segala sesuatunya dimusyawarahkan.
everything is discussed among people themselves, even when it's already stated in the Quran.
Dalam Al-Quran. Di dalam sistem Islam,
In Islam, there won't be any law that allows marriage between homosexuals or lesbians.
Allah dan Rasulnya mengatakan itu.
Allah said that it's forbidden, religion says it's wrong. Therefore, that law can never be found in Islam.
Tapi kalau dalam sistem demokrasi,
However, in democracy, if the House of Representatives agrees that it is okay, then people can marry animals. That's not the case in Islam.
While Razik and his followers would like to see Indonesia become an Islamic state, the goal of Bashir's movement is to establish a global caliphate, in effect a Muslim empire like the great caliphates of the past, ruled by a supreme cleric called a caliph.
I am fighting, struggling, dreaming for establishment of the caliphate. Because the Prophet Muhammad himself says that at the end of this era, there will rise a caliphate that will make the world a safe and peaceful place. It was his promise, so Islam must prevail. If Islam is defeated or erased, then the world will end. It's as simple as that.
Bashir's vision is embraced by many Islamic radicals, including Imam Samudra, who's now on death row for his role in the 2002 bombings in Bali.
It's a religious war, like the Crusades. It was written in the verses, the Prophet has prophesied Islam will shine again on the earth. It's all a matter of faith in the Quran. The war will never stop until the end of the world, with the one exception, that the Muslims will win.
These young people who talk very, very big through the big mouth, are very proud indeed when they are being interviewed and then they picture come out in the TV screens, But I'm never worried because any extremism in this country does not sell, The Muslims in this country are basically represented by Muhammadiyah and Nahdlatul Ulama. These two gigantic organizations cover about 90%, And then the other people and other organizations are also quite moderate, quite reasonable and rational people. So fundamentalist and radical and extreme or militant kinds of Islam, this represent only a small, very small fraction of the Islamic community.
Of course, the majority is still moderate here. The majority of Muslim Indonesia are moderate. But we have to make very strong point here. To carry out an attack, you don't need huge people. What you need is a small number of people, efficiently. Marriott bombing is only require 5 people. You can blow up all this hotel. Only 5.
In August of 2003, the Marriott Hotel in downtown Jakarta was bombed. 13 died, 120 were injured. In September 2004, the Australian embassy, 10 dead, 160 injured. Then, in October of 2005, the second bombing in Bali.
So, how can we counter terrorism? How can we stop this? To counter terrorism.
Hermawan Sulistyo is a senior research scholar and leading expert on counterterrorism in Indonesia, guiding investigations of terrorist attacks.
The only way to turn around the situations is you have to fight the discourse. New strategy of information, a new substance. But in terms of this discourse, you guys in the States have an absolute loss. You lost the battle in the discourse.
America! Terrorists! America! Terrorists! America! Terrorists!
There is growing concern among analysts of Indonesia that U.S. policies are propelling world events that lend credibility and legitimacy to Islamic extremists, pushing moderate Muslims into more radical camps and radicals toward terrorism.
The war in Iraq has come up here in Indonesia as one factor for why people got angry to the point where they were willing to join these organizations.
The Islamic Defenders Front is famous for assaults like this on the U.S. Embassy in Jakarta. They are not known for al-Qaeda-like terrorist attacks, but have capitalized on recent events to help terrorist groups. After Israel invaded Lebanon in the summer of 2006, the FPI led rallies in support of Hezbollah.
In a political social landscape like that, it's not hard at all to recruit potential terrorists because of the perception that we are against the evil Americans, we are against the evil Jews in Israel, against Zionism, so we will go to heaven if we die for the cause.
My brothers, you must understand that the explosion of martyrdom, the bomb that will burn your flesh and destroy your every bone, will bring you to romance on a mattress with beautiful angels for thousands of years without boredom. Why choose anything other than martyrdom?
To counteract the mindset that leads to violence, one group is making a direct appeal to the hearts and souls of young Muslims in an effort to win the war of ideas. Ahmad Dhani is an Indonesian rock star and the leader of the hugely popular band Dewa. They too have been attacked by the FPI. In response, Dhani wrote Laskar Cinta, Warriors of Love. It begins with a well-known phrase from the Quran, calling on all lovers of peace.
This song is about the radical Muslims in Indonesia. It says, all you lovers of peace, watch out and be on guard. For lost souls, anger twisting their heart. For lost souls, poisoned by ignorance and hate. Radicals always say that Christians or Buddhists or Hindus or Jews is going to hell. I don't believe that, so I make this lyric, you know. If hatred has already poisoned you against those who worship differently, then evil has already gripped your soul. than evil's got you in its damning embrace. It's like what Allah said to the Muslims: I'll never love or embrace people full of hate and anger, people full of lust for others' blood.
The enormous success of Danny's group Dewa, with their message of Islam as a truly compassionate and peace-loving religion, is a hopeful sign of where Indonesia is heading. But for some young people, the message is not getting through. The trials of suspects in the 2005 Bali bombing is ongoing, and the fear of future terrorism in Indonesia remains high. The police succeeded in killing one of the masterminds of the 2005 bombing during a shootout at his hiding place. Others managed to escape. But most Indonesians remain optimistic and have confidence in the future of democracy in Indonesia.
You know, this terrorist act is done only by a very small group of people. Most Indonesian people, they love peace. They are not terrorists. Islam is a religion that's a blessing to the world. We're on the right track now to build a very democratic country. But you know, that is the problem, that we are spread in a very wide country with a very big differences of the people. Some of our Indonesian people are living in the information era, using computer, all those things. But some of our people are still living in the Stone Age, like in Papua. Some are very rich, some are very poor. Some are very well educated. Some of us are still illiterate. We have more than 300 ethnic groups with different languages. It's not easy. You know, democracy just started in 1998. We have not experienced in this kind of freedom for a very long time. Now suddenly we get the freedom and people do as what they want. United States practicing democracy for more than 200 years. We just 98 to now, you know, not yet 10 years, you know. Of course, we have many controversies in the country, and that is the sign of democracy. Yeah. So let the democracy process do its work.
As that film said, Indonesia's challenge is to prove that democracy and Islam can coexist. We heard the militants' leaders say they can't, because democracy is what the people want, while in Islam, God holds the ultimate power, and he does not require the people's consent. If that were just a theological argument, we who believe that democracy is the highest form of government would have little to fear. But the jihadists want to create a Muslim empire ruled by Islamic law. They couldn't overthrow their own rulers in Saudi Arabia or here in Egypt, so they targeted the distant enemy, us. One of the Bali bombers said, "Our enemy is the United States and all its allies, which we will destroy."
Adalah salibi Amerika. Kami nyatakan bahwa permusuhan kami adalah kepada aliens.
So ultimately, this struggle is about us. because the militants portray American actions in the world, like the war in Iraq, as violence against Muslims. That becomes clearer as we return to where the modern jihad movement began half a century ago, here in Cairo. Here was born the ideology that eventually led to 9/11. When Crossroads returns tomorrow night, we look at the movement that fathered that ideology, the Muslim Brotherhood. Also, are we sacrificing liberty for security at home?
Tomorrow night, threats to our nation have changed the face of our civil liberties.
You have NSA being judge, jury, and executioner.
The Patriot Act.
This is a domestic spying program.
Preventative prosecution.
The very foundation of our democracy is under threat.
And then, some say they are peaceful.
Everyone knows that the Muslim Brothers are not terrorists.
Some say they propel terrorism. Who are the Muslim Brotherhood?
They want to portray themselves as being moderates, but they're masters at the practice of deception.
Coming tomorrow on America at a Crossroads. Find interactive maps, discussion guides, and more about America at a Crossroads at pbs.org. Funding for America at a Crossroads was provided by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. To order this episode of America at a Crossroads or other programs from the series on DVD, call 1-800-PLAY-PBS.